So we got some good news and some bad news. So if you look in here, this is the cylinder. If you look right here, this little piece straight over, it's like a little pole, right? So the handle hooks behind that little rod right there, right here. And when it pulls, it's supposed to unlock the door, and that's supposed to be open, but it's not working. So the handle is okay. This little tab is what hooks behind the handle, and that allows it to pull the door open. So when you pull from the inside, it's supposed to do this, right? And it's also supposed to do that from the outside. If I pull that little hinge as if my finger was the handle to the door, it doesn't do anything, and that tells me that this panel needs to come off so that we can reset the cable onto the door, so it can open and close. If you happen to have a Nissan Murano, Rogue, Altima, some Sentras, they all use this really stupid latch system. Let me get you a light in here, right? That little bracket right there that has your cable, that's the cable that goes up to your handle, which is on the other side. When that little ball, and it looks like one of these, there's a little ball that sits on a hinge with a little hinge spring inside. That slips out of place, you're not going to be able to open your door from the outside. The inside is a separate cable. This is the one from the inside, no issue. But when that cable right there with that white little cap, when that slips out of place, you have to take out the lock, you have to take out the window is now taped up out of place, to be clear. But you have to take apart the window. It's ridiculous. The amount of screws, cables, just too much for a tiny little ball slipping out of place. This is not something you want to be doing in the middle of winter. Y'all think I'm playing? Good morning, evening, or afternoon, whichever one's going on for you at this current point in time. It's been a little while since I made a video, and I kind of wanted to get this out of my system. This is something that happened not too long ago, but long enough that I want to say it before the weather starts warming up, because it is a winter video. But this is like a video for blue-collar workers, people that work with your hands, wear and tear on your body. Know your worth, because there's going to be people out there that they just take advantage of you because you're doing nice stuff, and don't do it. So to set the precedent, you've seen this worked on in the past. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and this is just what I've shown on YouTube. I've been servicing this vehicle pretty much a year after she had it. She's had it, and she's had it for 7-8 years, to be clear. Before that, there was an owner, and before that, it was a rental vehicle in 2 other states. So clearly, this 16-year-old vehicle has been through the ringer, and the OEM parts are, they're getting ready to go. With that being said, she let me know that her outside door wasn't working for the driver. The outside part was not working, the inside handle was. I'm like, all right. She thought it was frozen. Now, I do treat the weather stripping inside the door with a silicone lubricant, so I know her door wasn't frozen. So I said, let me go over and see what's going on with your door. After a couple of taps, I know it's not frozen, but sometimes for reference, picture, it's a cable inside. There's 2 cables, one for the inside handle, one for the outside. There's a little hammerhead on it that is attached to your handle. When you pull the door from the outside, it pulls that cable. That cable goes down to the latch, and that latch is opened to release the striker. Inside your vehicle, there's a little bar or a little hook or something like that, right? When you throw your vehicle, the striker strikes the latch and pushes it into the locked position or captured position. That keeps your door from opening while you're driving and you're out and about. When you lock the door, it makes it so even if you pull those handles, that latch doesn't release until you unlock your door. Pretty simple, right? It's decades that the design has been that way, so nothing new there. However, for those of you who didn't know, that's what it is. So I told her, let me take a look, and it was already late in the day. Sun's going down. It's freezing temperatures outside, single digits, getting to 2 to 5 degrees. I'm like, listen, it's too cold. I don't want to be out here with 50 lights. I'm going to come back tomorrow morning, and we'll take care of this. So 7:42 the next morning, I get there, and I'm ready to go. Knees in the ice, in the snow, no cardboard. I don't have a shop. I don't have a lift. I don't have nothing. I just take my ass where the problem is and I go fix it and then I fuck off. Pretty much how I take care of stuff. So when I tell you 742, I'm peeling off panels. I'm clip all the clips, all the screws, all the everything. I'm taking the key cylinder out because you have to take basically everything out. You have to separate the window from the window regulator to pull that whole assembly out so that you can get into the door. I'm going to leave a link in the description to a video from like 4 or 5 years ago. He shows what I did. So there's no need for me to take away from his video. Try not to sneeze here. So essentially this will work for 2008 to 2013 Nissan Rogues, your Rogue S models, SV models, SL models, and special editions. Not to be confused with the Rogue Selects and the Rogue Sports. Those are a separate subcategory of Rogue. They use a unibody design to the frame of the vehicle, and they use a single arm window regulator. So the window sits up here, and when you hit up and down, it's just one bar that brings your window up and down. Yes, now behind me, this box right here, I have the OEM replacement, or the OEM piece of the regulator, and that's the point of the story. So keep in your mind, window regulator, that's the point of the story. So this will work for all those models except for the Rogue Selects and Rogue Sports. So when I'm done fixing the door, because it wasn't a problem, it was just putting it back on the hook and getting it back seated in its bracket, it had slipped out. I told her, hey, your window regulator is not holding tension anymore. Your door's already fixed, but you need a new regulator. So she was having issues in the past that I've noticed where her windows they need a lot of work to go up and down, like they really struggle, especially the rear ones, but let's not even talk about that. So she knew that this was a recurring issue, and I told her, like, they're not holding tension anymore. She said, I'm not going to pay for that. You probably broke it. Get so close right now. She said I broke it. I've been working on this thing for almost 10 years of my life for free, just out of niceness for the community, me getting experience, me being nice to somebody who's disabled. You think I would do that to you now? What? I'm not the parts guy. I have no stake in the race. I'm not trying to sell you anything. How dare you? Right? So she said, how about I tell you not to touch my vehicle again? Are you threatening me with a good time? I have enough shit on my plate. If you scrape shit off my plate, you think I'm going to ask for more back? Oh, no, no. No, 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 no. So she said, what if I tell you not to touch my vehicle anymore? I said, that's on you. But since she didn't want to pay and I told her, it's $225 if you go to AutoZone for the Duralast, or if you go with Advanced Auto for the Dorman. Now, I'm an Advanced Auto Elite member, so I went with Advanced, but we'll talk about how we get there. They're both $225, both come with limited lifetime warranties. Get whichever one you go for, it really doesn't matter. With that being said, I told her it's $225 and whatever the tax is. That tax could be $6, $7, $8, $9, whatever. Super simple, comes with a lifetime warranty, not a big deal. I'll hook it up and that's it. And you're done, that's it. She's like, I'm not paying for that. I want you to take my window and put it back and that's it. I said, the window regulator is what the window sits on. You cannot just put the window down. It's going to sit inside the door. Now when it's rumbling around, because there's nothing for it to sit on, that window could break inside your door. It's not safe. So she said, this is what I get. I shouldn't have, blah, 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 blah. She started giving me attitude. I said, all right, you don't want to pay $230-ish for just the part. Let's see what you're going to pay with somebody out there who doesn't care about getting you hooked up and squared away. So I call up her insurance provider. I'm not going to say which one because I'm not trying to get sued. They're partnered with Safe Light. All right, you know Safe Light. Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace, that one, you know. So I call them up and a lady named Brenda picks up the phone. Shout out to you, Brenda, whoever you are. I give her the make and model, all the information. How much would it be for a new window regulator? She says Safe Light does not install window regulators unless they replace the window. Safe Light, why? Y'all do windows all the time. Just do the regulator. Why do I need a whole new window that's unnecessary? The window's fine. So, given that the $250 are for the rear windows, I can only assume the front one's got to be like $400 and whatever. Let's call it $400 for a custom, bigger, curved window. Maybe some tints. $400. All right. The $225 piece that they're going to source they're going to have a markup on that probably to, let's say, $300. We are $700 deep and we're still not done. 700 plus they want $200 for the hour of the technician's time, right? We're now 900 deep. Service costs, fees, and the fact that because her registration was not up to date at the time, that then means that they have to bring the service to her because obviously her vehicle is not street legal. We are clearing $1,000 easily. And if this lady doesn't want to pay 200 and whatever dollars for just the part, you think she wants to pay 5 times that and then some? I doubt it. You have a good day, Brenda. Click. I call up another mechanic in the area. They have locations all over the country. So again, for the sake of not getting sued, I don't want to say the name, but they're partnered with AutoZone as far as where they get their parts. So I call up the front desk, give them the make and model, all the information. How much is it for the regulator? They tell me it's $50 first for a wellness check. All right. We see that they have one part in stock. That's horseshit, by the way, because we have 10 AutoZones in the area that were stocked. But, you know, she had to mark up that piece. She wanted $450 for a $225 part. That is a 100% markup. We're $500 deep and we're still not done. 500 plus 200, it was like 190 for the hour of the technician's time. And that's not including service cost. That's not including recovery fee for the old parts. That's not including taxes. We're back in the $800-900 category again as an estimate over the phone, which you know by the end of it, they're going to tack on a couple of extra things. This is what I'm talking about. So clearly she's in the $800,000 plus range. Anyway, that's just what the area is operating on. So I tell her, you really don't want to pay 200 and whatever bucks to me, which is not to me, it's for the part. This is what you're going to pay out in the street. We kept going back and forth. I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I get in her vehicle and I drive an hour. Unbeknownst to me, keep in mind that in my state, if you're caught without a proper registration, it is $300 and a suspended license. To the Advance that had this in stock, this one right here, I checked the connectors, make sure the pins all line up. I'm not de-pinning and soldering a new connector, whatever. Everything was compatible. I get back. When I tell you I had it hooked up, done, checked, cleaned, window installed, no fingerprints, no smudges from the adhesive to keep the window up. Everything torqued down, out of place. Perfect. And I also electrical wrapped some of the electrical cables that were in the door. They were like chafing, so I didn't want anything touching the bare door and getting grounded. That could fry the motor, fry a fuse, or just cause issues with electrical, function. Now, yes, that means that I had to pay for the window regulator motor assembly out of my pocket. Yes, it's annoying, but at the same time, not having to deal with anything anymore is easily worth every penny to maintain your sanity. Please do not be stuck in situations like this. Bite your tongue, grit your teeth, and get out. Get out as quickly as you can. Do you understand me? Run for the door. Run. All that done, 15 minutes with the door assembled. Cylinder, caps, everything back in, perfect. Done. I'm going to show you what failed because she watches my videos and this might be the last video she watches of mine. But the proof is in the pudding because I have your OEM regulator right here. You said that I broke it on purpose. That's a disgusting thing that anybody would do to somebody else's vehicle, is to hurt their ability to get around and do stuff. That's horrible. And the fact that you think so low of me is infinitely offensive. So I put the alarm on her vehicle and I tell her 2 things. Number 1, I genuinely hope nothing happens to your vehicle. Truly. Number 2, I hope that when inevitably something does happen to your vehicle, that they take every penny that I have saved you over the years. Anything that I've done on camera, off camera, and anything that I've done outside of your vehicle stuff for you. I hope those people out there who are trying to swindle you genuinely take every penny that should have been for me. So, with that being said, let me close out this video by showing you what failed. Now, I didn't take a picture of the inside of the panel of the door, but it was all scratched up, and it's still sitting in her truck because I had to assemble it back together. So, the proof is there if somebody ever takes the door apart. So, this, in case anybody cares, it is the 748031, right? 748031. That is the part number for this particular Rogue. Pop it open, and we see something that I bagged up because there is a little bit of grease in here still. But this is what it looks like, right? So basically the motor is attached to one side of the panel in your door, and then you attach it, you take out these 3 bolts, right? 1, 2, 3. Once you take out these 3 bolts, you're going to take the motor that's here, this assembly, you're going to pull it out, you're going to put it behind the panel where the regulator mounts to, and then you're going to put the spool side, this is what has the cables and what directs your cables up and down to raise your windows up and down. You're going to put it back together without letting the spool in here come out. If that comes out, all your cables are going to unravel and you might not have the same tension. You've just ruined this whole assembly and you need another one. So, for reference, let me just straighten this up for you. So essentially, this is how it's going to sit. Ignore the motor that's hanging down. Obviously, that's supposed to be pinned to the door. But it's going to sit in this capital N type of configuration where the regulator, you see it has the spring right in the middle. That's going to release the cable, and that's going to push this cable, right? That goes around in the pulley. Those pulleys pull the cable down and around, and basically they pull and push on each other to bring these little V's. These little V's, let me just put my finger to it so you see what I'm talking about. That's where the pegs for your window sits. And that's the track that goes up and down, right? This would be your window at its lowest position. So that's basically how it sits. It's a pulley system on both sides, and the pulleys just have the cables going around and around depending on what you need. So one side of the motor is retracting while the other one is releasing, right? And that's what brings your windows up and down in this motor. Pretty simple, right? So here's what failed on the system. Inside the motor, let me zoom in action for you, is 3 8mm bolts, right? 8mm. So let's do that. And for those of you, like I said, who are installing a new one, do not let the spool in here come out. So let me back up just so you're not too lost. Just think about the motor assembly, right? Whoops. All right, now we're in loosening, right? That's 1 bolt. That's 2. And that's 3. Right? Now, remember, when you take out the motor, take it out slowly. There's going to be grease in there. This is your spool. That spool is where the cables are. And you can already see the problem right there. See those cables? Those are supposed to be nice and happy and clean. They are all messed up. When you have a new one, don't let this spool come out because this spool is holding the cables. So let's go ahead and just take this out. Actually, let me get a mini pry bar. Switching to smaller screwdriver-lary pry bar. When we pull this out, and you can see how jammed it is because of how messed up the cables are, right? So you see it starting to come out. Now I think I can do it by hand now. So this is what happened. You see this spool? If you look at it, let me turn on the light for you. Whoa. You see how the spool has a bunch of grooves and they're supposed to sit tight, tight, tight.
Tight, 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 yeah!
Tuco Salamanca level tight. Up in here, nice and flat in these grooves. Look at this cable right here. It is so fucked up, messed up, crazy, crooked, out of frame that it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. So let me go ahead and undo it for you. Unravel this. And this is the cause of the break. That broken cable is overlapping with the rest of the cables on that cable. So when they're rubbing against each other, scraping, and then it's scraping the inside panel, there's going to be extra resistance, extra strain, extra issues. And eventually, when this slips off the cable, there's going to be so much slack in here that the whole assembly, back you up here, the whole assembly is going to be it's going to be all fucked up, is what it is. And quite frankly, the fact that somebody thinks I would maliciously do something, let me get that light off my face, is disgusting. So no, I didn't break it. Your cable was broken, and so it needed a new assembly. The fact that you would assume that I would do something that nasty, it's impossible for me to put 16 years of wear and tear inside a door, inside a housing, inside a panel, inside. It's impossible. Like, I don't have magic X-ray powers to damage something without looking at it, touching it, feeling it, being there. So it's disgusting that somebody thinks I would do something like that. Genuinely not touching that vehicle again. I told her, find some other sucker. Genuinely. Now, with that being said, I'm not an incredibly petty person, so here's what I did as a last good effort. I know her situation with the registration was, apparently there was a glitch in the system where the DMV thought she sold her car, which was wrong, and they gave the plates back, which is also wrong. So I made the appointment, as insufferable as she was giving me attitude through the whole process, made the appointment for her on the snowiest, worst blizzard day, ice in the roads. Everybody's car was quite literally doing this. Drove her over to the registration office, the DMV, before the DMV opened. It was like the earliest appointment they had. Got her in, had to wheelchair her to the area, get her registered and all that stuff, sign her in so she could give them the registration, pay whatever fine she had to pay, and then she got her registration printed out like on the spot so she could be street legal that day. I don't know how a mean person would be able to do that. It doesn't strike me as like that. But I was like, you know what? Doing bad for the community is just not what I'm about. So she's street legal now. Good for her. Whatever. Should something happen in the future with her vehicle, don't care. That's one. Two, this whole not charging people for just being nice, and no, that's done. I just did a 2018 SV Rogue from somebody else. Oh yeah, I charged for that. And I probably should have charged an extra 100, to be quite frank. But this right here, it felt so good to get paid for anything I do. Like, if your hands are black, right? Dirty hands, clean money. I'm not out here doing bad. I don't hurt nobody. I don't party. No social media. I keep to myself. No drugs. No alcohol. No, I'm such a fucking nice person. So the point of this video is know your worth as a blue collar worker. If somebody's trying to take advantage of you, or you're trying to do above and beyond for somebody who genuinely doesn't deserve it, you need to pull back, put an X next to that contact information, and go to another house. Do not service them. Do not help them. If you're their neighbor, do not also cut their lawn if you're a landscaper. Like, sometimes you got to fight fire with fire. It is what it is. But you have yourself an excellent day. And once more, the proof is in the pudding. That right there is why your regulator failed. Not because of malicious intent. Work smart.